Hello and welcome back to our Develop podcast. This is your host, Danielle Reynolds, and I am so excited to be with you all as we continue to connect, learn, and grow together. We have a fun episode today highlighting one of our more niche service lines, which is part of our consulting group. And when you think of public accounting firms, this service line may not come top of mind, but wow, has it grown here at our firm. And that is our mineral and asset management team. When I started here at Whitley Penn, we didn't even have this group. And now there are 4 people dedicated to this service line spread out in multiple offices. So joining us today, I have Jason Fitzgerald, a manager on our mineral and asset management team out of our Fort Worth office. And fun fact, Jason was also a letterman on the TCU men's golf team. So you can ask him about that later when you connect. Jason, welcome and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to get this recorded.
Yeah, and talk all things mineral and asset management, right?
Right.
So tell us a little bit about you first. Where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to school? And what did you study to get you where you're at today?
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Wichita Falls, Texas. It's about 100,000 person city just northwest of Fort Worth, about 2 hours. It's considered one of the original homes of Texas oil and gas. If you looked at a map of Wichita Falls, it looks like a shotgun was blasted against it with all of the oil wells that are poked in the ground. So about 3 generations have been in the oil and gas business. And so I eventually went to TCU and found my way coming back after majoring in finance there and obviously playing golf. Met a lot of folks in the industry and then decided I wanted to get back into space. Once I graduated from TCU, I started working for a company called Mineralware along with some other side things with the family business. Mineralware really exposed me to the minerals, mineral rights, and the management side of that business and how they're traded. Mineralware was sold in 2022 in May. We had a successful exit there, and I was kind of leading our business development team and on all of our sales. So I decided it was time, and I joined the Whitley Penn mineral management team in September of 2022. At the time, it was just 1 person, I believe, maybe 2. And since then, we've already added another senior manager, Buffy Campbell, who's in our Dallas office here. So pretty exciting. It's a lot, and I'm excited to keep growing it.
Yeah, that is great. So you kind of mentioned how you wound up here at Whitley Penn and how that opportunity led you here. So let's just dive in. What is mineral management? Who needs it? And what does our team specifically focus on?
Yeah, so mineral management is pretty unique. So obviously, I think there's about 12.5 million royalty owners in the U.S. And so the U.S. is really unique in that you can have obviously your own mineral rights, and they can be severed and traded and sold and passed down just like a piece of real estate can. So when you think about a horizontal oil well, it can span up to 2 miles long. Some of them recently have been going upwards of 5 miles in length. And so when those wells are drilled, there's all of these different plots of land that have all of these different mineral owners. So one well can have, 1,000 different mineral owners in it. So that's greatly increased our side of the business. And what we're doing is taking these assets that these individuals or companies or different groups own, and we're going in and making sure all of the payments from the oil and gas operators are correct. All of the assets that they own are in pay status. We're helping pay property taxes, looking for any advantages or anything we can help with on that side, like a protest if they do have a large increase. And then we're just kind of managing a lot of the paper that comes through. So at any point in time, some of the owners we work with have, hundreds and thousands of wells. They could be getting, 500 pieces of mail a day. Like it's pretty wild to see how much paper and mail comes through. So we're just helping them and giving them the professional side Whereas like the operator, they have a whole team to manage a lot of this. They have a whole company, where the individual owner is kind of behind the 8 ball on that they just have to manage it themselves. They're looking at different lease agreements, division orders, and a lot of times they're signing things that they really don't know what they're signing.
Yeah.
So that's where we step in.
And probably some, if people inherited these, that probably comes as a huge opportunity for y'all, right?
Right. So a lot of what we do, I guess we have 2 different ownership types. What I call ownership types. You have more of like the passive owner, which is the individual, the foundation, a university. A lot of times where assets have been passed down through generations, versus being bought actively, maybe by what we call like an active owner. That's kind of the other side, which usually like a private equity backed group. They're looking for an exit in 3 to 5 years, or whatever their time frame is. And so we've really divided them into 2 different categories there. A lot of times the active owners are trying to buy the passive owner's interest. So if there is a client that's looking for an exit to get rid of their minerals or their royalties, we can usually help connect those with other folks in the space trying to buy. Each different group kind of has their own unique, wants and needs and what they're looking to get done. So we really try to customize our services to match that. So, for example, the passive owner, they don't have as many requirements on the reporting side, but they're more curious just to make sure all of the payments are correct, the property taxes are being paid, and then estate planning wise, that they're kind of in the right position, trying to maximize the values from those assets that they've inherited or, gained over the years. Whereas the active owners, they're looking at, they have reporting requirements to their sponsors. They need to track ROI. They need to be ready, if a sale does arise, that they're ready to exit and they can facilitate that quickly, which what we've noticed, that's really not been the case. So one of the biggest issues we see is these active owners will go to sale and, it's kind of just a mess when they are trying to get out of the asset. So we're keeping them organized along the way and managing anything from basic land administration and document management and tracking transactions, helping facilitate those all the way to, we help on a lot on the accounting side as well.
Yeah. So it seems like a lot of different services within this service line. Are there any y'all focus on maybe more compared to others, or just?
We started this whole arm in the looking at the passive owners, and that's, the typical way these are being managed right now is typically by a trust department where there's 600 accounts. Whereas we bring more of like a tailored approach to the individual, and we can kind of customize the solution. It's not just like here's your standard report that we give to everybody else. We really tried to tailor it to that owner. On the active owner side, we can bring a lot of the accounting and reporting functions on that, which really separates it on that front. But the real genesis behind it was to go, help the individual owner and give them a staff to have a group of professionals, just like it was, just like the operators have.
Yeah.
Which it's kind of grown on its own to be expanding into that active owner space.
Yeah. So, it's definitely not a one size fits all.
Definitely not.
Like a financial planner or wealth management, but as it relates to the mineral assets.
Definitely. Yeah. Everybody's got their own kind of wants and needs and what they need to have done.
Yeah. I like that. Tailor it. So what types of clients does our team typically serve, and who would be a good fit? So you mentioned the individuals, maybe family offices, banks and trusts. Tell us more about those good fit clients or prospects.
Right. So obviously you need to have, for an ongoing management engagement for us, we need to have revenue totals that make it economical for both parties to engage in that. We typically like to see $500,000 somewhere in there in annual royalty revenue. That's kind of for the ongoing. Now, outside of that, we do work on kind of an hourly consulting, one-off projects to help people maybe get set up on a software system or clean up their asset base. A lot of times we get folks that come to us that say, I don't know what I own. My grandfather bought these, in the 50s or 80s or whatever their time frame was. And they don't really know where the assets are located. If there's new activity, is this something that's going to continue on for, 50 years, or is it more of like a 10-year time frame? Is it going to increase? Is there new activity? And so that's something on a one-off consulting job, we can go in and give a lot of that info, but at the same time, we do that on a regular basis for all of our, ongoing mineral management clients. So that covers individuals, family offices, universities, trusts, foundations, or some of the bigger groups that we work with. And then kind of on the active side, it's just a little different. We can work with just about any size of aggregator. Our sweet spot's been, the kind of the smaller to mid-range mineral buying shop doesn't want to carry a huge staff because they know they're going to turn it over in a certain time frame. So they can use us to help manage that. And it's more of, we're familiar. They're not doing a lot of training. They're not managing benefits. Just basic management stuff. They can rely on us to handle a lot of that.
Yeah.
And we can pair it with different services as needed.
Yeah. Outsourcing is a great cost savings solution.
Definitely.
So we are a solutions-driven firm. Can you touch on some of the solutions and the ultimate value you bring to your clients?
Yeah. So I think for the individuals, it's just giving them a professional management versus them just signing agreements that they don't really know that they're getting into. And they can be cost effective because we do have kind of a other asset base, and we can allocate only a certain amount of hours to them to make it really worth their while and kind of get the best of both worlds. And we're not just it's not like hiring a lawyer, having to review that. You get a little bit of the revenue and accounting side. You also get, we do have a couple lawyers on staff that are still licensed and carry that. But we kind of mix both the revenue and accounting side together with the land administration on our land side and pair those together. And that's really what mineral management is having kind of both of those worlds speak to each other and make all of the, the revenue statements that you're getting make sense.
Yeah.
So we bring a lot of value there. On the individual side too, getting assets in pay when somebody doesn't really know what they have. So there's already been a couple instances with, in the few months that I've been here, I think my total is up to about almost $500,000 that I've found in suspense for clients that they just have no idea existed.
Crazy.
So that's always a good day when we find that. It's not a guarantee for everybody, but it is something that's been inherited, more often than not, we're going to find enough revenue to pay for our services for a long time.
Yeah, that is amazing.
So we bring a lot of value there. And then just the transparency is one of the biggest things. We get them set up on a software we use called Mineralware. Obviously, I helped develop a lot of that. So I'm really proud of that. And I think it's a great platform for a lot of individuals to use. So we do a lot of work with them and making sure people are set up and correct and everything's kind of accounted for there.
Yeah.
On the kind of the active royalty owner, the PE-backed group, it's getting them the reports timely that they need, being ready to exit at any time, and then having the peace of mind on their front that if they do find an exit and they're ready to go, they're going to have a team that's ready to help them on that transaction and get it sold. So just a cost-effective solution when you have that fund and managing it.
Yeah. What I'm hearing is full service, right? Yeah, comprehensive accounting, the land administration, and a really proactive management process.
Yeah, that's something that we take kind of a lot of pride in is that proactive standpoint. So if there is open acreage, something we look at using is a couple different partners to get those properties marketed. If they are unleased, we'll try to get them leased up. Obviously not rushing into anything and getting a bad agreement, but really vetting those and seeing if there's opportunities to bring more revenue. Yeah. I know a couple of the clients we work with, they have quite a bit of surface ownership. So it's a little different to manage that, but you have, surface use agreements and right of ways and And kind of out in the basin, in the Permian Basin, we'll sell caliche and water rights and just getting more value out of that property rather than kind of just letting it sit there stagnant.
Yeah.
Really property managers in that aspect.
Okay. Every market's probably very unique, right?
Very, very different. Every basin's different. That's another thing. We cover pretty much the entire U.S. We'll have a client that right now that has assets in just about every basin.
Okay.
So that spans from coast to coast, really.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's fun.
Managing it all right here from Texas.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's luckily softwares like Mineralware
Yeah.
and all the resources that are digital now. You can really be anywhere in the U.S. and manage a lot of these assets.
Yeah, that's great. So how do you see this industry, changing, growing, evolving over time, over the next few years?
Right. So wells are going to keep getting drilled kind of no matter what. And, it might slow down. It might pick up. Nobody really knows what's going to happen there. But there's still going to be new production. There's still going to be wells coming online. So it's kind of an ever-growing business in that aspect. Mineral rights keep getting passed down. Sometimes they get severed up and kind of split, and there's just new issues that keep coming up with those to manage them. So we see that, as an opportunity for us to keep adding to our client base and growing this side of the business for us. And mineral rights are still being traded daily by those active buyers. And so the more that we can work with there, I think you're starting to see a streamline in a process for a lot of groups that are moving in that direction of, hey, we don't want to staff up. We don't want to, really carry this huge amount of employees. And so we'll be able to step in there. And a lot of people have found a lot of success with it. And it's really cost effective compared to that. Yeah, that's the plan.
I love it. So you mentioned, mineral assets getting passed down. Are there other internal service lines y'all work pretty closely with here?
Right. So that's one of the biggest things that drew me to Whitley Penn, and where I saw a lot of opportunity to help grow that business is, between the tax side of things and your income tax filings. I think in our tax group, there's like almost 1,000 people or somewhere in there that own mineral rights. And that's just at Whitley Penn. So we work very, very closely with the tax group, and we provide all of the tax partners and whoever's prepping those. We get them all the information basically on a silver platter of, all of the revenue. Here's the operators. We check to make sure it's right back to the 1099. We prep all of that for the client. And then the same thing on the active owner side. When it comes to the taxes, it's kind of the same front there. We'll prep and get them all the information they need as well to send off to sponsors, to get ready for the audit. We'll work with the auditors. Another group that we really work closely with is the wealth management team here. Because usually when you have a lot of royalties, that usually comes with a lot of revenue typically. So we work hand in hand with them with the estate planning and making sure that money's being managed for generations to come, not just what's being delivered, today.
Yeah. What a great benefit.
Yeah.
Especially if I were on the other side, knowing I had mineral and assets to manage, and I was working, whether it's tax side or wealth side, knowing that a team is actively looking at that to help you grow. That's a huge benefit. Yeah.
Having all of that in office, there's a few groups that we work with that they rave about that.
Yeah.
They only have one meeting, and then all of us on the back end are all talking to each other, sharing information internally. And it's really easy to get information from me to a tax partner or whoever's preparing those, or to their wealth manager or their wealth advisor, and sharing all of that info. We're all sitting in the same office and we speak regularly. So when they come in, the client comes in and sits down for like their annual meeting or quarterly meeting. We've got it all prepared and put into one. So I think it really separates us on that front, having all of that paired together. The client kind of knows that, okay, this is all being managed, and it really makes their life a whole lot easier.
Yeah. Hello, efficiency, right?
Yes, absolutely. We like efficiency.
Yeah. So is there anything that I have not asked you that you want to share about our mineral and asset management team?
The biggest thing that I think a lot of people get turned away from with mineral and asset management is kind of the old standard of, it's kind of the big bank and you're just kind of another number. And I think Whitley Penn really changes that. where we'll bring in, it's more of a tailored approach. It's, the fee schedule is really customizable. We'll find something that fits for you. Some folks like a percentage of revenue route. So if you ride the highs and lows, we're open to that. Mm-hmm. We're open to do more of like an hourly flat rate, just whatever fits that client. Every group that comes to us that we work with, or every individual, it's just a little different. And so we fit what's best on our end, or what's best on their end. We'll make it work on our end and tailor that approach for them. But I think a lot of people think that they don't either make enough money, their royalties aren't high enough, or they're just gonna decline. Well, that's something we can look at in the conversation up front to see if it's going to be economical or not, and if there is an opportunity to get more value from those assets.
Well, you don't know if you don't ask, right?
Right. It's always worth a conversation, is what I say.
I love that. So, Jason, thank you again for joining me today, sharing about our mineral and asset management team. I'm certainly looking forward to continuing to work with you and watching the success of your team. And if y'all have any questions, you want to learn more, you want to reach out, I would love to connect you directly with Jason. So hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will talk soon.